All right, friends, I'm here with Vance Roush, the CEO of Overflow. Welcome to the show, Vance. Glad to
Thanks,
have you here.
thanks so much, Jenny. It's great to be here.
Can you, for my listeners, briefly explain what does Overflow do for nonprofits?
Yes, Overflow is an online donation platform that helps nonprofits like churches, human services organizations, educational institutions like universities receive stock, cryptocurrency donations, and other alternative assets.
Wow, what do you mean by other alternative assets? Are we talking like NFTs?
Oh, yeah. So we are going to be releasing NFTs very, very soon, but even more than just digital assets, physical assets as well. We've facilitated vehicle donations, so automobiles, and other assets like art, wine, and collectibles. It's very exciting.
Super cool. I did not know about that. I knew about the cryptocurrency and stock donations, but that is really cool that you help with all types of assets like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to dive into this conversation about cryptocurrency because it's a topic that is somewhat new. And I know a lot of people don't even really know what cryptocurrency is. So, can you explain what is cryptocurrency?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm excited to provide a little bit of education. It is a growing space, so we're all going to learn together. But simply put, cryptocurrency is a digital asset that can be circulated without centralized banking or government. And for example, cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is written on a technology called the blockchain, which is a decentralized technology.
Yeah, tell me so I think to understand what cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is, I think you need to understand what blockchain is. So can you break down what is blockchain for me?
Yeah, so blockchain is basically a public ledger. What that means is that in a centralized banking infrastructure, they have ledgers as well, right? Where they keep track of debits and credits. That's all centralized. That's not necessarily exposed to you or managed by the people that own these assets. It's managed centrally. So the blockchain actually flips that on its head. The blockchain is a public ledger that's actually managed by many, many people and many, many computers decentralized throughout the world. And the purpose of it is to be able to track transactions and verify these transactions so that it's transparent and it can't be duplicated and things like that.
So if I'm a nonprofit and I'm accepting cryptocurrency, is that because it's decentralized, is that less safe than accepting a cash donation?
Great question. You know, there's a lot of debate around this. It depends on your framing and your understanding. I think there is a lot of people that would acknowledge that the blockchain actually provides more opportunity for security and transparency than even the current system today. Another advantage of cryptocurrency is that unlike, a banking system that largely is still antiquated, you can transfer funds such as donations more instantly. So ACH transactions take still a minimum of 3 days in most cases. A cryptocurrency donation through our platform can take 20 minutes. And so
Wow.
largely real time, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that is very exciting. So, okay, so a lot of nonprofit leaders, like I said, this may be their first time understanding what cryptocurrency is. So, can you explain why should nonprofits be accepting cryptocurrency donations or even soliciting those types of donations?
Yeah, I mean, cryptocurrency is, I would say, not just a nice to have, but a generational necessity for nonprofits. If you look at the nonprofit giving space as a whole, the average donor is skewing upwards of 50s and 60s, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just good to understand. The average crypto holder is in their 20s, right? And so if you think about it, it's not just a nice to have to start receiving cryptocurrency. It's actually a generational necessity. On top of the generational necessity, it's also growing and starting to become democratized across all generations and all socioeconomic statuses. There's over 300 million crypto holders today. It's a multi-trillion-dollar space at this point, and it skews pretty philanthropic. If you think about it, we just had this event, I mean, still going on with Ukraine, and Ukraine raised nearly $100 million in cryptocurrency donations. Fidelity reported that in 2021, their Fidelity users donated to their donor advised fund over $300 million in cryptocurrency. It is hashtag crypto for good, a space that skews philanthropic and continues to grow at exponential rates.
And I know the average donation of cryptocurrency is also like with stocks. On the podcast, I've talked a lot before about how stock donations are much higher than cash donations typically because those donations are made not from your household budget. Like your cash budget, you're having to think about your household expenses, groceries, things like that. But with things like stock and cryptocurrency, you're not using that in your day-to-day life. And so you can make bigger donations with that. So can you compare for me when people make cryptocurrency donations using Overflow, what is that average amount versus the average cash donation amount?
Yeah, you nailed it, Jenny. People are disproportionately more generous when they're giving from their portfolio or their crypto wallet. The average donation through Overflow today is $9,500. And the average donation through somebody's checking and savings account through a platform like, let's say, PayPal or something similar is $128.
Wow. So just like drastically higher if you're getting cryptocurrency donations.
Yeah. You nailed it with your insight that when people start cluing on to or understanding that they're not just limited by giving from their checking account, because ultimately, and this is why we call our company Overflow, ultimately, if people are restricted to only being able to give from their checking account, they're actually giving from their leftovers. They're doing a mental calculation in their head saying, okay, I got these kids' school fees, I have my mortgage or my rent, I have this vacation that I'm saving up for. Okay, I'll give this nonprofit what I have left over, which is $128 on average, right? But when they start understanding, oh, I can actually give from my gains. I can give from my portfolio. And maybe I've been fortunate enough to have some significant gains on something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, one of the cryptocurrencies, right? I now am opened up to making sure I can give a more generous gift. And so that is what's most exciting about activating these channels. If you think about a donor today, this was reported a few years ago, the donors today actually have 90% of their wealth in non-cash assets. But most donations today actually happen through cash processing. And so we want to fix that. We want actually nonprofits to actually be able to unlock where wealth is held.
Right. That totally makes sense. So if we think about cryptocurrency as a donation, how can nonprofits, do you have examples of Overflow users who have done a good job of asking for cryptocurrency donations? How do you ask for that?
Yeah, so we actually specialize as a company to not only provide the platform but to truly provide a partnership so that we can help our nonprofits, our 501c3s fully activate the platform to their donor base. So what does that look like? I mean, number one, you want to make sure that it's integrated onto your website, onto your giving page in a way that it's not tucked away on an other ways to give page, but that it actually has parity with, giving from your checking and savings account. When it's elevated to the place where it has parity, then it gets the attention of the donor. Number two, you want to provide education. So for example, giving appreciated assets is one of the most tax efficient ways to give. When you have appreciated assets, if you ever realize those gains, you're going to be subject to what's called capital gains tax. But if you give from those gains, those capital gains tax, it could be up to 20%, is totally protected, because when the 501c3 tax exempt nonprofit organization receives that asset, whether it's cryptocurrency, stock, or other alternative investments, they are not subject to any of those capital gains tax. It is a win-win situation because the donor on their side gets to take a charitable tax deduction on the fair market value of where that asset is at the time the nonprofit receives it.
Right. So what you're talking about is like, instead of, if I have Bitcoin, instead of me cashing out the Bitcoin and then donating that cash to the nonprofit, I have to pay capital gains tax on that. So instead, what's better is for me to directly give the cryptocurrency from my account to the nonprofit's account.
Correct, correct. So let's just take a round number. Let's say you made $100,000 on Bitcoin, for example. That's nice. If you were to sell that whole position and then give it, the nonprofit will only see about 70 to 80,000 of that value because of taxes, right? But if you give the Bitcoin directly, then a nonprofit liquidates it immediately, then they actually get the full 100,000. So net, it's a more generous gift and it's a higher charitable tax deduction.
Now, what if a nonprofit leader feels like, okay, we've only got like 500 donors right now, or we have some small number of donors. It's not worth my time to try and solicit cryptocurrency donations because we don't really have that many donors anyway.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage them to rethink that type of mentality. I'll give an anecdote. So, and this actually happens pretty often at this point. We serve over 200 organizations across the nation. We have this organization based in Florence, Kentucky. Florence, Kentucky. The number one question before they signed up was, Vance, you're in the Silicon Valley, you serve nonprofits in New York, they're on the coasts. They obviously have stock portfolios, they're into crypto. I don't know if anybody in Florence, Kentucky is gonna, be able to utilize this platform. We educated them on how distributed and democratized things like cryptocurrency is now becoming. So they were encouraged enough to sign up. Literally, the week after they signed up, they received a gift that was valued at $500,000. 500 in Florence, Kentucky, the most middle America town that you can be in. The point is this: because of companies like Coinbase, Robinhood, fintech, right, financial technology, it is completely democratizing access to these type of assets. It used to be that donating, for example, stocks and ETFs were reserved for high net worth individuals. But with the proliferation of apps like Robinhood or the proliferation of cryptocurrency and apps like Coinbase, anybody can invest now with a click of a couple buttons. And
Right, right.
so it's not only restricted to that anymore, it's completely democratized, and that's not stopping.
So, Vance, if nonprofit leaders are listening right now and they're like, okay, I want to look into this idea of getting cryptocurrency donations, how can they learn more about Overflow right now?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go onto our website, overflow.co, not .com, overflow.co. My email directly is vance@overflow.co. You can email me, or if you go on the website, there is a clear way to be able to book a demo. And our team would love to provide even more education and show you how we make it seamless and frictionless for your donors to be able to support you in the form of cryptocurrency and other alternative investments.
That sounds so easy. Okay, great. So, what I'm going to do, Vance, is in the description of this video or podcast, wherever you're listening or watching right now, you can find Overflow's link and go and schedule a demo to see what Overflow looks like and how it's used to help you accept non cash donations. Thank you so much, Vance, for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jenny. It was a pleasure.